Good. Okay, it's showtime, everybody. True Hoops, bring it in. Very excited today to have New Orleans Pelicans coach Alvin Gentry with us. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're good.
Good. All things considered, I think. How are you, David?
Yeah, everything's fine. Happy to have him coach on the show.
Coach, you have a little bit of a playoff beard going, looks like.
I think that's called laziness, you know.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Well, since I don't go outside my house other than to take a drive in the afternoon, I figured, hey, you know, I can be scruffy a little bit.
So how are you guys? How's the Gentry family? Everybody okay?
Everybody's good. Everybody's fine. You know, it's really tough in the New Orleans area, but I think everybody's doing the best they can, and you know, with the social, you know, distancing, and then just, you know, the stay-at-home thing. I think everybody's trying to do the best they can. Obviously, we're epicenter of this thing, so. But I think we're starting to level out a little bit, hopefully, and it's just going to continue that way, really.
You're our second New Orleans-based guest. The earlier one is a former CIA analyst named Jeff Asher, who teaches at Tulane and stuff, but he has been following New Orleans' response like really closely. And he actually said that he thinks you guys are doing a good job. Like the city's had good policies and it seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I mean, I think everybody understands the severity of this thing and what's going on. And the only way that we are going to get it under control is that, you know, we as people got to be very cooperative in what they're trying to get done here. And I think the people understand that. And if, you know, even when I go out, and that's mainly to the grocery store, you know, most of the people now have on gloves and masks, a mask for sure. So I think we understand that we've got a long way to go, but I think everybody's doing the best they can to try to cooperate.
How's your toilet paper supply?
I gotta send you something after this. It's got to be the funniest thing ever. You know, it's the whole toilet paper issue. So Henry, I'll send it to you after this. Okay?
Did you ever think we were going to live in this time where like toilet paper would be this like wonderful, precious, magical thing?
I'm still trying to figure out why. You know, there are other alternatives. You know, we don't have to go that route. But
I was super confused about it until I heard about my friend Stephanie's mom. I think she bought it all. This is what I understand now. It's her fault.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. I even asked our psychologist here, you know, that we have. I said, I know this is a weird question, but you know, why is this toilet tissue thing become an issue? And she goes, I wish I could answer that one. We don't have an answer for that one.
Wait, how much time did the Pelicans brass talk about this issue?
Oh, we spent time talking about it. It was as a matter of fact, on one of our coaches meeting, our Zoom coaches meeting, you know, it was a very much a topic of conversation, and how everyone's supply is holding up, really.
All right, so I know we want to talk about a lot of things, but I did notice, like, you know, there's a lot of consideration of if the league will start again, when, blah, blah, blah. And mostly it would be a cinch to say, oh, well, these are the playoff teams. In the East, it's really pretty much set. In the West, it's not, and it's your fault because it's the Pelicans, Grizzlies, Spurs, Blazers, and Kings you are the only remaining playoff qualification dogfight.
Yeah.
It's got to be on your mind.
Well, yeah, of course it is. You know, I thought we were playing really good basketball. You know, when we, you know, inadvertently had to just walk away from it. So that was the tough thing for us. And to be honest with you, we had played the toughest schedule in the league up until then. So, you know, we had a lot of games left with the teams that we were chasing. So we felt pretty good about it. But obviously there are teams that felt pretty good about it too. I thought, you know, you look at Memphis and what they had done. They had played really good basketball, and Taylor had done a great job. You know, as far as coach of the year, he would have to be considered, considering where they were supposed to be and where he had them playing, the level he had them playing. So, you know, if I'm Memphis, I'm saying, I don't. If we want to just go right into the playoffs, I'm fine with that.
Right.
If you're the other five teams, if you're Portland and San Antonio and New Orleans, and there's another team there, and Sacramento, you're like, hey, let's have a little tournament here. So I have no idea. I don't think anyone has any idea, what's going to happen or how it's going to how we will come back when we're coming back. But I know those guys in the league office, man. They're working tirelessly hours to try to get this all figured out, and they'll come up with a good solution, I'm sure.
If it is something fun and new like a tournament, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I think that like I said, I don't think any sports organization out there is any more innovative than the NBA. So I think when it comes back, it's going to be something that's great. They tweaked the All-Star game, and to me, I thought it was one of the best All-Star games ever, especially down the stretch. And the way guys played, and you were playing for charities, and it meant something to the guys. So I'm sure when we come back, there's going to be something. The thought process is deep and long, and I'm sure they're going to come back with something that's going to be very interesting in our case too. So I don't think anyone has any idea right now, but it'll be something great.
But so you like the Elam ending, Coach? You like that?
Excuse me?
You like the Elam ending at the All-Star game?
I did. I thought it was really good. I thought what the NBA did was really good, and I thought the players, more so than anything, enjoyed it more than anything. I mean, there's 3 charging fouls called on an All-Star game. Come on. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Hey, David, 3 All-Star games, 3 charges called on an All-Star game. It's unheard of. There had been 3 charges in the last 10 years of an All-Star game.
But can you imagine, though, the NBA eventually adopting the Elam rule for the regular and/or playoff games? You think it's possible they could do that?
I wish I could answer that. I have no idea on that one. I think. Well,
how would you feel about it, though, as a coach?
I'm kind of a traditionalist. I think for the All-Star game is great.
Agreed.
And I think it's something that they'll probably continue to do. But just as regular season or anything like that, I'm a pretty traditional guy. I think you play and you do the best you can, and then you go from there. I think the one thing that we did answer for everyone is that, tanking doesn't do anything for you, I mean, we played out our schedule, and we tried to win every game that we had, and, we still ended up with the number 1 pick. So I think even Rudy Gobert even texted that, that, hey, the tanking days should be over. Look at what happened with New Orleans. So I just think that in those situations, everybody want to see you play at the highest level that you can. Yeah. And I think it's hard as a coach to tell Drew Holiday not to play hard, right, or in this case, Zion Williamson or any of those guys not to play hard. And then you come back to training camp the next year, and then you say, come on, guys, you got to play hard. And so I'm not a big fan of every tanking and stuff. And we got rewarded for not doing it, really.
What was it like for you at 8-23? What's your mindset, knowing how injured your team is? It's not just Zion. I mean, you led the league in games missed with players. So at 8-23, what are you thinking about?
Oh, I just think getting everybody healthy and ready to play. I think that the one thing that's really important is that you really can't judge your team, I don't think, until you have all your players healthy and you have the rotation going. And we found out that when we are healthy and we can play the rotation of players that we think that we become a pretty good basketball team. And, and I think there's other teams, in that situation too. Memphis had one of their key players hurt. And, with the situation the way it is right now, he's going to be healthy when we come back and play. And that's a big plus for them also. So I think the injury thing is, is tough, and you have to deal with it. It's just part of it. But obviously it's hard to judge your team until you are completely healthy and have the team that you anticipated and the rotations that you anticipated playing.
And when you're healthy, what's happening that worked so well for you? Obviously, Zion injected huge amounts of athleticism and energy and ability to score. But you guys were starting to play better. I heard JJ Redick on his podcast this morning. Henry had sent me the link. And he and Lonzo were talking about how the team was already starting to turn before Zion even returned. So,
I would say that
what's happening? What was working?
I would say that's true, David. I mean, obviously adding, anybody like Zion to the mix is going to change the whole thing. But I thought that we created a chemistry that was really good. I thought Brandon Ingram was playing his best basketball. I thought Alonzo Ball was by far playing his best basketball since he came into the NBA. I think that he was in a comfort level with what we do here. It was almost like Steve Nash, hey, you got to push the basketball. The way we play, you're going to have a few extra turnovers. But if we get 4 extra baskets out of it, then that negates the turnovers that you have. And so I thought he was starting to play really good basketball. And to me, the big thing for him, David, was that I thought he started shooting the ball much, much, much better than he's ever shot it. Yeah. And I think a lot of that credit goes to Fred Benson, the player development coach.
He credits Fred too. He credits Fred too.
He just stayed with it, and he told him, it's almost like my golf swing. I can swing great when I'm at the range, but when I actually get on the court, I think I revert back to the old habits. But he stayed with it, and to me that was really important. But I thought the chemistry was really good. And then the great thing about our team is that when we did incorporate Zion in there, he fit in like a glove, really. The guys pretty much respect him. He has an unbelievable respect for veteran players and stuff like that, and that's why I think it worked so well for us.
Lonzo had a great line in the podcast where he said, very innocently, he said to JJ, "I've never played with anyone like this before." Think about who Lonzo's played with. And he said that line so genuinely. What was your thoughts when you first started coaching Zion and saw that?
I have, you know how coaches are. I mean, I was like, wow, we'll kind of see. He's really kind of undersized a little bit. We'll see how his game fits into the NBA. The shooting thing, we'll see how that worked out. And I tell you, after about 4 practices, and this is in the preseason. And then when he came back, obviously we were worried about, well, what about his conditioning? What about this? And after 2 games, we were like, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. I've never seen anyone, and I've been around a lot of great players and a lot of great athletes. I've never seen anyone that has a second jump like his. I mean, there's a play in the Utah game that we have where he shot a runner, and it bounced off the rim, and he dunked it back in before anybody even had a chance to have a second.
We featured it on True Hoop.
We did. We did the exact play.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
I've never seen. I'm 31 years in the NBA, and I've seen Michael and Kobe, and you can talk about all the great leapers, and jumpers, and dunkers, and Tracy McGrady, and all of these guys, and I've never seen anyone do that. So. Oh. Hey, okay, I got to tell you guys this story before he even says a word, okay? This is a guy that was on a Zoom, chat, and they said, you got to get the most famous guy in your phone book on the phone. I mean, in the meeting.
Yeah, right.
He chose me, He chose me.
Nice.
That's like saying my most favorite president in the United States was Millard Fillmore. Okay, all right.
No, he's saying you're Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's what he's saying. I mean, you are Lin-Manuel. That's perfect.
Henry, if I'm the most famous guy in his phone book, you're gonna have to rewrite your phone book. Okay.
Alvin, you're the most famous guy who responded. And for that,
okay. Now the truth comes out. Okay.
What's up, Amin?
Hey, Coach, what's going on?
How you doing?
Didn't you get Urkel?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're the second most famous person.
Oh, no.
Sorry,
What'd
guys.
you do to Alvin?
No, that was my phone. I got one of my assistants calling me, see. So
you're busy.
Yeah, this thing right here is the funniest invention ever, So
It is.
It keeps everybody connected, though. It's good.
So
now that Amin's here,
go ahead, Henry.
Can I just quickly pivot to as I was telling you before, Coach, I just reread my notes from 7 seconds or less, and now I feel like enough time has passed that you can tell us the real story behind you called Michael Olowokandi a very bad name. And then the next time, then you had to hide from him the next time he was in the arena. Can you flesh that out for us a little bit?
Well, I'll leave it at that, though. I don't know if he's back. If he's back in the UK, I'll talk about it. But I don't know if he's back in the UK. So
it's a lockdown. You're good. You're fine.
Right.
I mean,
No,
you want to talk about that?
Sometimes coaches get a little excited, and sometimes they say things that they wish they could take back. And I wish I could take that one back. Not that I don't believe it, but I wish I could take it back. You know.
Amin's got something to say here. Amin's got something to say here.
No, I was just gonna ask the question because obviously everyone's watching The Last Dance, but Alvin, you went through it in Phoenix. How long does it take you to not notice that that Jack was in the room? Jack McCallum was in the room.
You know what? I don't. I think for us, you know, and Jack's such a great guy and everything, and you know, we trusted him, and he was great. He was great. He said right from the start, you know, I'm here. I'm exposed to everything, and so there's going to be some things written that you guys are not probably going to be happy with. So, you know, it's almost like when you're talking and you go, "This is off the record." There's never anything off the record. I mean, you learn that early on as a coach that, you know, there's nothing off the record. So we pretty much just opened up and did, and you know, he just kind of fit in and was there, and it's almost like The Last Dance. I mean, you know, cameras are there and everything, but eventually you just go back to who you are and being exactly saying and doing what you were doing under normal circumstance. And I think that's what's going to make this documentary, you know, I mean, we saw 2 episodes, but I think that's what's going to make this so great. There's going to be some things that is said and things that are shown that you're gonna have pause about. But
we can hope. We can definitely hope for that.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys were in Phoenix. You led the league in 05-06 in pace at just under 96 possessions for 48 minutes. That would be behind Charlotte, dead last now. Did it feel like you were flying then? And how has it even gotten faster in your guys' mind?
Well, one of the things that I think one of the misnomers about the whole 7 seconds or less thing was that if you go back and check, most of our shots came with less than 12 seconds on the shot clock, you know. So it wasn't this breakneck pace that everybody thought of. I thought we played at a consistent pace, and back then I don't think there was a lot of teams that played at a consistent pace. I think there was teams that took opportunities to run, but when there were three defenders back, then it was pretty much kind of walk up and run a play, and we were just the opposite. We played, you know, I think what Mike D'Antoni called instinctive basketball. And I think, you know, we didn't have a lot of 4 down, 3 up, 2-side plays. Basically what we did is that we played and we had a skeleton of what we were going to play out of. And then we let players make decisions based on what the defense did. But yeah, I tell everybody that we would be dead last in pace. You know, we were playing today at the pace we played there. And so, but I think you can see right now, a lot of teams around the league, most of the teams around the league have really picked up the pace of the way they play. And I think that what has happened in the NBA is that if you're a big guy coming into the league, then you better be like a Karl Anthony Towns, where you can shoot 3-point shots, but you also have a post-up game. Because if you only have a post-up game, it's tough for you to play.
Yeah, you know, one of the things going off what Alvin just said about Mike talking about instinctive basketball, I can't count how many times Alvin in practice or shoot around where we go through the first few beats of a play and then he just said, and now we're just playing basketball. Meaning now y'all got to figure out based on what everything else that's happening, what the defenders are giving you, what your teammates are on the floor, as opposed to kind of scripted plays. But the other thing is, you know, part of what made our offense up-tempo wasn't that we ran, sure, but it's also that our half-court sets were not plodding, methodical. It was always with pace. Everything that we did in our half-court, even if it took us 14, 16 seconds to get a shot off, everyone was moving quick. It was not kind of the slow down, walk it up thing that was really big in the early 2000s. And then the other thing is, and you say we would be the slowest team right now, I always think about it like driving. Like if you're doing 40 in a 20, you're going fast. If you're doing 40 in a 75, you're going slow.
Right.
So it's not that we were going fast because we were going at 40 miles an hour or whatever our pace was. It's that we were going faster than everybody else. So if we played today, we'd still be, I think, the fastest team in the league. We'd just be faster than everyone else.
Yeah, right. At that time, you're exactly right. Most of the teams were walk it up, slow-paced teams. You know, when you go back and think about like the Knicks and the way they played, there was a physicality about their game, and they wanted to get into you. And that's the way most of the teams were in this league.
Right. And
Mike was the first one that says, we're not going to worry about, Sean Mary. We had Sean Marion guard, Yao Ming, and we said, okay, maybe we can't guard him and we'll have to double. But I know for damn sure, Yao Ming can't guard him on the other end. And so we were the first team, I think, maybe Don Nelson's Golden State teams a little bit, but we were the first team to play in space. We spaced the floor, and we made it so that the dribble and kick game was going to be what hurt most of the teams. And the other thing is that I think, what we did is that, like I said, we played at a consistent pace. Most teams like doing that, but in the fourth quarter, when we were still playing that way, all of a sudden their legs weren't there and they slowed down. And so there were so many games where we'd have a 14-2 run, a 16-3 run at some stage in the beginning or the middle of the fourth quarter where we got the separation. And, that's how I think we won the 62. We were 62-20 that first year because I don't think teams had caught on to exactly what was going on.
There was this thing I think about, I've mentioned this a few times, but like a friend of mine is a longtime NBA reporter who's a smoker. So he knows the secret places you hide out on the loading docks or wherever in NBA arenas. And there's a regular crew of NBA smokers and they all know each other, right? And back when I first started covering the NBA, some of those people who would smoke were players, right? But not anymore. And I feel like you guys ruined it for them. Like you can't be a smoker and they play now, right? Like that's all over. That's done.
You're speaking of that, everyone knows David Thompson is my cousin. And, at that time when he played for the Nuggets, Larry Brown was coaching. Sometimes I could even walk in the locker room at halftime. It was kind of that loose back then. And it would just beside me. There would be guys in there listening to the halftime talk, and they would just be smoking away. I was like, what the way? It was just a total shock, And back then also, they didn't have a lot of the Gatorade and the, smart water and stuff like that. It was all beer.
Some water.
It was all beer in the locker room cooler. So things have changed quite a bit since then.
Did you ever see David play at NC State?
Oh yeah, when he was a senior, I was a freshman in college, so I've seen him a lot. I saw a lot of games at NC State. Everybody forget that as a freshman, he did average 38 points a game in the ACC. So,
do you remember who their point guard was?
Who, Monty Tao?
Yeah, a good friend of mine. I was a student there when he was a coach with Norm Sloan at Florida.
Oh, okay. Because Monty and I used to play tennis 4 times a week.
He was good, wasn't he?
And he got like that, and I got like that. Yeah. But it was a great workout for me because he ran me all over the court. Yeah. We played tennis a lot.
Monty was a really small guy, Henry, but he started on that famous NC State team.
Yeah,
like 5'7", small.
They list him at 5'6". He was more like 5'5", 5. Yeah. But just a hell of a play. That was a great team, by the way, that they had.
Coach, I want to ask you. So clearly, you guys had to do some serious player development, right? You had, as you know, a lot of young guys, and that isn't just about coaching on the court; it's mentoring all the time. And I want to talk to you about. I know Henry brought up to me about what it's like for these guys to be quarantined now. But during the season, what were some things you were trying to do to help them understand what it's like? Ingram and Ball, they weren't rookies. Jackson Hayes and Zion are rookies.
They're
starting out. How'd you handle that?
I think the one thing that we do is that, and I found this out over the course of 31 years, is that visual learning is much better for NBA guys. So we take those young guys and we watch a lot of tape. We watch a lot of tape when they're in the game, even if they play 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes. We're always showing them tapes where they see themselves. And then we will show tape of guys that we think that they can emulate or they can be like in the league. So, Jackson is this running, this athletic guy, and, I mean, we have shown him a lot of tape of Anthony Davis. We really have. Say, hey, you can be this shot blocker. You can be this guy. You got to get yourself stronger. So we don't mind doing that with players. And, with Lonzo, I mean, we'll show him a lot of tape of Steve Nash. We'll show him, just guys that he likes. But we like to show more of themselves than anything. And then the other thing that we incorporate into a lot of our player development is that if we're going to be out there for 30 minutes, then 10 minutes is going to have to be defense. We're working on slides and rotations, and especially with Zion and Jackson and Nikhil and kids like that, we explain the whole concept of the zone defense and what we can do and how we can be there. And we talk a lot about illegal defense. What you can't do and how you have 2.9 seconds in the lane, but you can clear yourself and really you can stay in the lane as long as you want. So we just try to do things like that, and then obviously the shooting becomes important. The one thing I think Fred and Joe Borland and all of our player development, Jamil McMillan and guys like that, what they've really done is that the shots we shoot are like game shots. I would prefer for a guy to shoot 25 game-like shots than 100 just going around and, just going through the motion. So everything that we do is game speed, game shots. And I think that helps also.
Can I tell you something? David Thorpe's been pissed off about this for 10 years. More. Like, he would call me basically in pregame. The assistant coaches send these perfect passes, just perfect passes. And David's like, you're never going to get a pass like that.
That's true.
That was the point of that.
And it's funny you said that, Henry, because what we do is like one shooting drill that we try to do is that we throw bad passes,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to catch it at your feet and then you got to shoot it. You got to catch it over your head. You got to shoot it, because I wish that every pass was right on the money and right into the pocket. But we know that it's not. So we try to make sure that guys, and I got that really from Steve Kerr, Steve said that, and the other thing that he used to do, Steve, which I found fascinating, is that when he was working with Chip England, when he was in Chicago, they would sit there and talk for 5 minutes. And then he would say, okay, let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Throw him the ball, and he had to shoot it. Because he said, Steve, there's going to be a lot of times that you're not in the game.
Right.
You're in there basically to shoot the basketball. And you may not have played. Because there was a game in Dallas where he sit there for 45 minutes. And, they put him in the game, and he made the last 2 big shots of the game. So
the playoff
he said,
game. It was a playoff game.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, he said, you always got to be ready. And so we try to take really game-like situations, and that's how we try to do our player development.
Do you think yelling curses at him and stuff and hitting him with things?
Of course we do.
I always wonder,
especially the 19-year-olds. They just.
How are they doing at home? How's this quarantine going? A 19-year-old living alone is a scary thing before a pandemic, but how are they doing?
Well, they're doing well. They really are. And those guys are pretty mature guys. And they're also understand, the situation as it is right now. So we still have places here to have pickup. We still try to get them geared toward, good nutrition as much as they possibly can. And I think they've kind of gotten that part of it. So, and I talk to them a lot. I talk to them almost every other day, to see how they're doing and what's going on. And, for some of them, it's been really good. They've been doing a lot of these virtual workouts at home, and we sent weights to most of the guys, homes, and just still working out. You just got to adjust to the situation right now. This is the new normal.
Are you doing team calls where guys like Drew and JJ are on with them too?
They have done that. We haven't done it, but I've talked to them, the conventional way on the phone, you know, which is like old school.
Hey, Grandpa.
Yeah. I have two kids, and Amin knows this, and I got a son that's a freshman at USC, and he texts me all the time, and I pick up the phone and call him, and he goes, "Yeah, Dad, I just text you," and I said, "Yeah," and I'm calling because what I have to say, I can say in 30 seconds on the phone. It'll take me 5 minutes to text it. Okay, so I'm not big on the text thing.
I use WhatsApp. I use the voice messaging on WhatsApp most of the time when I'm talking to players. It's much easier. You're not going to hear them respond. I can just say my piece and move on.
that's it. That's me. That's old. That's the old guys. You're not an old guy, man. You know.
I'm 55. I'm closer to old than young. Hey, when you were in Phoenix, I just want to ask you this, Coach. You know that Ryan Pannone is like my son.
Yeah.
And Ryan just raves about Amar'e in Israel in terms of his professionalism. Now, Amar'e grew up around here. We've known about him since he was 14. When he was a young man playing for the Suns, he clearly was incredible talent. But did you think even then he really loved the game and was very professional? Or could you see that really grow in time?
I can't remember maybe one or two times that he was late for anything.
Wow.
You know, he was as professional as it got. He loved the game. And I don't think people ever gave him the credit of the player that he was. This guy's an incredible player. You know, he has 25 points for almost 5 straight years. And nobody really talked about him. And, you know, we had the series with San Antonio. Obviously, that was an Achilles heel for us. You know, when I was
and a lot of other teams too.
Yeah, but you know, we had a series where he averaged almost 40 a game in a series against Tim Duncan, and you know, we struggled. We in the Western Conference Finals, we struggled the first 2 games. We come home and play a game, he gets 42. You know, Pau Gasol had dominated him out there the 2 games, and he said, "Wait till you come back here. We'll be at home." You know, and he was such a great player, but easy to coach. You know, easy to coach, you know, so, and a funny guy, really, you know, we were, I tell everybody this story, we had a timeout one time on the bench, and, you know, he ran on every possession, but, you know, we were shooting open threes, open this, so we took a timeout, and during the timeout, you know, I said, okay, this is the next play, we'll run this right here, and he goes, "Coach, can I say something?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What the hell am I out there? Am I just a decoy? Who am I?" You know, he said, "I'm running up and down the damn court like Carl Lewis, okay?" he goes, "Can somebody just throw me the ball one time?"
He was a crazy bucket getter.
Wait, what did you say? How did you respond to that?
Oh, no, I just said, "Hey, you'll get it. Just keep running. You know, you'll get it." And at the end I think he had 37 that game at the end.
Oh, jeez.
See what I mean? You know,
yeah.
but he was a joy to coach, and I'm telling you, and a really, really good guy. And you know, he came from a real tough situation.
That's what I want to bring up.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, the guy is the best husband and the best dad you'll ever see.
But Ryan says.
The thing about Amar'e, a couple of things. One is that love of the game. You know, I wasn't there for his pre-draft workout, but Alvin, you've heard the stories about they had the guy that just got released from prison. They went up against, dumped on him so hard his tooth popped out.
Wait, whose tooth?
The other guy.
The other guy.
So you know, Amar'e from that standpoint, he always wanted to. His work ethic was always elite in terms of he wanted to be great. He didn't want to be good. He didn't want to be all-star. He wanted to be the best player, and so he was always putting in work. He was one of our few players. You know, Phoenix in the summertime gets super hot. Most guys leave in the off season and they go LA or wherever else. He'd stay in Phoenix. He'd stay and he'd work out at the practice facility every day. In fact, during our pre-draft workouts, like at the end of it, he would come on the court and the kids would watch him. And I'll never forget Jamario Davidson from Alabama.
Yeah.
He was watching. He was like, "Is this what y'all do?" I'm like, "What do y'all do?" They said, "None of this." So all we do is run plays all day long in practice.
Yeah. No.
And so they would watch and see, here's a guy, all NBA, all-star, coming in on a June day and just getting in a workout. You know, most guys, I guess, around the league at that time would probably still be on vacation.
And
Go ahead.
And he just had so many memorable dunks, just dunks that you just go, wow, The dunk that he had on Olowokandi, the dunk that he had at Golden State on what's the kid's
kid
name?
From Creighton. He's still in the league.
Tolliver.
Andre Tolliver. There you go.
Yeah. He had a dunk on Tolliver where everybody on our bench could see it happening. and he was at an angle and Tolliver was at an angle. And all of our guys just go, oh, God, this is not going to work out great for him. And it was like it was one of the best dunks I've ever seen in the
Alvin,
league.
do you remember what he said after the game? Because they asked him when you caught the ball on the break, what were you thinking? And Amar'e, this is his sense of humor here, because he pauses for a second and he says, I was thinking, I hope he jumps.
Yeah,
He wanted that poster. He didn't want a nice easy bucket there. But talking about his upbringing, that was the other thing they talked about because he fell in the draft, and part of that was because the high school guys that had been drafted the year before didn't quite pan out. Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler. At the time, they had a rough rookie year.
Right.
So it was kind of like
Darius Miles and those guys. Because we wanted to draft Amar'e in LA, and they said, "Oh, we got high school guys already."
Yeah. So there was an overcorrection of the market. But the other thing was Amar'e grew up in a really tough environment. Several family members
played for 5 high schools.
5 high schools, several family members in trouble with the law and all that. And even within the Suns, as I understand it, there was kind of a split decision. And the main voices that were for him were Mark West and John Shoemate. And their point was, look, if you grow up like that kid grew up, and you got all around you, bad stuff is happening, and you come out of it, no problems with arrests, no problems with substance abuse, no problems with anything really. Like that tells a lot about his character and who he is as a person. And so,
and he never ever used that as a crutch, guys.
Yeah. Never brought it up. Never brought it up.
He just said, "Hey, I'm gonna be the best basketball player," but he said, "I'm gonna be the best dad, and he said, I'm gonna be the best husband anybody ever had." And I tell you, he pretty much accomplished that.
Compare him to Zion in terms of Amar'e was an elite of elite athlete for a guy 6'10". Zion might be the athlete right of the last 10 years for his size. How would you compare their games going, like projection wise, for Zion?
Yeah, I think they got a chance to. Zion's got a chance to be, that kind of player, because I think Amar'e is a better shooter, but I think Zion will get there, because I think that, he's the guy that's going to work on it and do things like that. What Zion is that he just got an unbelievable feel for the game. He's got a great feel for the game. Yeah. Amar'e is just such an overpowering guy. He overpowered any of them. It doesn't
and was quicker than everyone, too.
Yes, he was so much
for
quicker.
his position.
And then he worked on his shot where that 18, 20-foot jump shot, it just came automatic. Yeah. And, Zion will get there. But I've never seen anybody that has such a feel for the game. Now, Zion is an elite passer, too. That's where I think he has a little bit of an advantage. And he is that athletic guy. He's a tremendous athlete. Like I said, never seen anyone that have a second jump like this kid. And also, I've never seen anyone that can take a hit and then finish through contact like he can.
He better at that size.
Yeah, he can finish through contact, and there's been a lot of sounds on the bench that we hear where he bumps, and the next thing you know, somebody is saying, "Oh," because I think what happens is that you don't realize that this guy is as solid as he is. I mean, he is solid, And so when you bump him, it's like running into a brick wall,
If you don't realize that you're blind.
Yeah.
Coach, if Henry and I go to New Orleans some point next year, which I really hope we can do, and we're dying for a hamburger, where are we going to go?
If you're dying for a hamburger?
Dying for a hamburger.
That's an easy one right there. Desi Vega's Prime Burger in Harahan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Which burger are you taking, Coach? Which is your choice?
Oh, at Desi's?
Yeah.
I've gone through all of them. I mean, yeah. And not only that, if you go there, you got to have a shake.
Strawberry shake, I heard.
Yeah,
know,
best strawberry shake in the world.
That's what I heard.
Fries are great. Everything is great.
I, for one, am shocked that Alvin didn't go with the vegan option.
Yeah, right. Okay. You know me. Vegan, yeah.
How do you stay away from Cafe Du Monde? Because that used to be your spot when we were on the road. When we were visiting New Orleans, that used to be your spot. Now it's there all the time for you.
Yeah, beignets, you gotta stay away. I can only eat the food here like a couple of times a week. If not, I would be, I'd be posting up. I'd be posting up perk. Okay, send that to perk. Okay. But no,
I love that we had an Amar'e Love Fest here. But one thing that occurred to me was like that we misunderstand maybe the Suns a little bit. Like it was the quick team or the 3-point shooting team, but it was really like the redefining the role of the big man team, right? And that was like Sean and Amar'e, like that's what changed, right?
They made it. That stretch forward thing. That's who it was really. And then when you got to understand that we played Boris Diaw as our center. We played. When Amar'e was out that year, everyone forgets that Boris averaged almost 26 a game in that series against Dallas in the semifinals. That we lost. So Mike just wanted players that could play out on. He wanted big guys that could play out on the floor and also be facilitators. Boris was such a great passer, and there were certain things that we ran where when he was in the game, where he was going to be the facilitator, and he was a tremendous passer and really, really smart. Had a huge high IQ from a basketball standpoint.
There's another one of my favorite 7 seconds or less moments was somebody, I forget who, in the NBA was accused of sexual assault that year, and Mike's like, "Was it on Boris Diaw?"
Boris was not a fighter. That's why the whole thing with them being suspended, in the game against San Antonio for leaving the bench area, and our defense for Boris was like, he's never fought anybody in his life. Now he might bring a guy. He could possibly bring a guy a cappuccino, and say, "Here you go." But
what's the story? What's the story? I want you to tell either of you guys, Alvin or Amin, where Boris came out in flip-flops when guys were testing for vertical, like drinking cappuccino. Right? Do you know that story?
Did. And he and Amar'e had a contest, and Boris said, "Oh, I can get that. I can." Amar'e got, I don't know, 12-3 or something. I can't remember. Boris said, "I can get that." He took off his shoes barefoot and went up and went boom. That was the old Boris, though, not the Boris.
But I'll tell you this though: when he played in France, he and Michael Petrus, remember Amin?
Yeah.
Petrus
we had Michael Petrus. We know Michael.
Michael was the higher rated prospect because he was a better athlete in terms of on the court. Boris was the more skilled, crafty guy, and Udonis Haslem was a player in France that year. When he came back and told me, everyone's talking about Petrus because I played against both guys. Boris is a much better talent.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah. It's and brilliant. Like just such a smart player.
He's got a high basketball IQ, and he's
He'll
is.
let you know about it too.
He's confident in himself. Okay. Yeah. We had our defensive guy was Mark Ivoroni, and Mark had talked about playing screen and roll. A couple of ways. You got to do this, Boris. You got to do this. And so during the next time out, Boris said, "I tried your way. It does not work. Now I'm going to do my way." Walk back out on the court. Mark wanted to choke him.
Good communicator. Yeah.
That's who he was.
I had to ask you about Brandon Ingram because a year ago in February, I wrote that I wanted the Pelicans to make the deal with the Lakers if their deal was going to be done, because I valued Brandon Ingram very, very highly. It was before he had a heart issue. And I understood the Jason Tatum desire, but I thought that they had very similar upsides. I may end up being wrong. Tatum really jumped up even more than Brand did this year. Yeah. But I thought Ingram could be a high-level scorer and all-star. Talk about his growth this year where he really became, an elite scorer.
Well, one of the things that we thought is that, getting Brandon Ingram, that he was probably our leading scorer. We really believe that as a coaching staff, because we just saw a guy that had untapped potential. We figured that, given a situation where he could have the ball in his hands, he could be more of a playmaker. Now, that being said, you couldn't blame, if I got LeBron James, trust me, he's going to have the ball all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he didn't really get to play. Now, Alonzo got to play, their kind of basketball game. But as I said, when you have LeBron James, you do what you need to do. So we thought getting those guys. But with Brandon, he's such a hard worker, guys. I'm telling you. Before practice, he's working on his game. He practices extremely hard. After practice, he works on his games. And a lot of nights, he'll come back in and shoot, after dinner, 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And so you could see him getting better. And the thing that we tried to stress with him, he's got to be more of a facilitator too. You get yourself in trouble where you're getting double teamed, and you're going to get double teamed when you start averaging 26 a game. Then you got to be willing to give the ball up. And everybody forget that the game that he had 49 points in, I think he had 7 assists or 8 assists in that game.
I watched that
game.
So,
I just think he's getting better and better and better. One more thing, everybody fail to realize, 23 years old. I mean, so he's got a huge upside even right now. So I see him getting better and better. We like our team, obviously losing a guy like AD, who's, in my opinion, one of the top 5 guys in the league, that's always really tough. But, I thought Dave Griffin did a great job of getting the best deal we possibly can for him.
Who's your favorite?
Huh? Who's my favorite what?
Pelican.
Who's my favorite Pelican?
I know you can't say.
Mrs. Yeah, you can. Don't give him out.
Mrs.
Okay, who's your favorite? I insist on an answer.
There you go. That's the answer.
Hey, Mrs. Gail Benson is my favorite Pelican. Okay.
Good answer. That's a good one.
We get Gerard and Henry.
Yeah, we gotta get Gerard in here. Also, because you have a question, click the little chat button. We have one more question that I got privately from David, which was an interesting one. He said in the past that the Suns team was not only played with pace, but also with rhythm. What does that mean?
Well, just what I said. I think, playing with pace and then just, basically playing with rhythm is that, hey, look, you have 2 options. Either you're going to drive and kick, pass the ball to the next available guy. And,
not Carmelo.
We prefer to kind of get the ball moving a little more. But you got to give him credit too, because I tell you, Melo has come back and done a great job. Man.
He did.
Great job.
Really has.
Yeah. My joke is a little old. All right, here's Gerard. We end our show every time. Gerard joins us and asks better questions than we do. Welcome, Gerard.
Thanks, Henry. Coach, when you're thinking about offense in particular, what's the balance between my philosophy and obviously getting the best guys, I want the best shot, versus how much stress I'm putting on the defense?
I think the way we play automatically put stress on the defense. We're always in attack mode. That's what we talk about all the time. You got to always be in attack mode. And from attack mode, then we said you got to make good decisions and quick decisions. We say you have to make a decision in 2 seconds. Either I'm driving the basketball or I'm passing it to the next guy. And I think that in itself keep pressure on the defense all the time. I think when you run a lot of set plays, because one thing about the NBA is that the scouting, is elite. And so if you run a play, everybody out there on the defensive end knows exactly where the next pass is going and where the next cut is going. And I laugh because we play, Oklahoma City this year. We run a play and CP stops the guy and goes, "You're going to the wrong spot. You're supposed to be coming over here."
Classic, Chris.
Hey,
which is classic CP if anybody knows.
Yeah.
And he said, "Right, coach?" And he's supposed to be cutting over here. And I was like, "Yep, you're right." So I just think that just the ball movement and always having the attack mentality keeps the pressure on the defense.
Hey, Alvin, I don't know if you remember that Rasheed Wallace did that to us way back when he was in Detroit. He literally, because somebody was going the wrong way, he stopped them, told them where he was going, where Steve was going to go, and then Steve can either hit you or he going to hit the shooter or y'all going to go back.
Exactly.
He went through every wrinkle of the play.
Exactly.
And we're all just standing there and said, yeah, pretty much what he said.
How many players are walking around with the whole playbook in their heads?
There's a lot of them.
Rondo is.
CP is the best. So that's why we always say, hey, we'll call 3 plays from here on out. The middle play will be the play that we run. So
Really?
we call,
Is that what you do?
yeah. So we call 15 high, and then we'll go 4 side, and then 21 get. All in one sequence. So I'll stand up,
Alvin,
2 high, 41 side, 15 get.
Alvin, who was it that we called out a fake play? It wasn't even. It just made up a play, and they're like, "Hey, that's not real. Y'all don't have that one."
Yeah. Well,
What's that?
And another guy, Rondo was. He was as good as anybody at that.
He's famous for that. Yeah.
Yeah, he would just make up plays as we went along. He goes, "Okay, hey guys, we're running 21 get," and then he would go out there and go 47 split go. And then everybody,
this is
the
like
scouts
illegal,
on the other
right?
team would be like, "I don't have that. What is that?" So it's funny how we're able to scout, but it's like a no-no in the NFL, which I never understood that anyway. I mean,
Yeah, I don't get that.
yeah.
The first time I met Eric Spoelstra, he was had a terrible job. It's the worst job I could ever imagine, where you sit in terrible seats next to people like me and just draw up oh, they changed the play call for this one thing, and you got to fax it off to your bosses or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that's a bad job.
That's tough, and especially nowadays it's gotten so much tougher because everybody does play kind of like we talked about. They play basketball
more fluid.
Where it's intuitive basketball, and
right.
not just go from A to B, B to C. So it becomes a little bit tougher to scout.
That's your fault.
No, it's not my fault. It started with Nelly. Trust me, It started with Don Nelson, and then everybody kind of jumped onto that one. I know Mike perfected it. I thought, when we got Steve Nash, everybody forget that team was 29 and 53, and then we basically signed Steve Nash, and I think we also signed Quentin Richardson. And we added those 2 guys, and we went to 62 and 20. So
here's a little piece of trivia: is the first true post of all time was I went back and looked at the preseason coaches conference calls that year, and the coaches were just so off, right? And one of them was Mike, who was like, "Hey, I think I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if these things come together, we could make the playoffs."
Really?
Yeah, he didn't get ahead of himself because we were really good.
You're really good.
What people doesn't realize is that we lost 6 straight games that year. Steve was out. We lost 6 straight games. But we also won 17 in a row, and we lost one, and then we won 15 in a row. So we won 32 out of 33 games.
That's pretty amazing.
Something like that. So Steve was just a special player, though. I mean, he was a competitor, and he was just a tough guy. We have Aaron Nelson here now in New Orleans, and we were talking about the game that we played against San Antonio. Remember where he had the cut over the eye? We couldn't get the blood stopped, and Delaney, the referee, said, "Hey, Alvin, you can't get it stopped. You got to take him out." And so Steve told Aaron Nelson, he goes, "Just put some damn glue in the thing. We'll deal with it when we get through." He said, "I can't put glue in." He goes, "Well, just do something to get it stopped." So he goes back out, makes a 3-pointer. It's still bleeding, and we have to take him out of the game.
I remember well.
Yeah.
That was terrible video of whatever Aaron was putting on. He was putting Vaseline on it or something.
Yeah, he was trying. He was trying to put the stuff to get it, and then put the little. He's not Dr. Freddie Pacheco.
All right. Well, we have kept you over time. I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any last questions for Coach before we go?
Just stay safe and healthy, Coach, and you and your family.
Yeah, same with you guys. And you know what? I'm telling you right now, if anybody knows Adam and that group up there, we'll get this thing going again. Yep. But they're not going to do it unless they're absolutely sure that it's safe and everything. So, we have the best commissioner in sports. So we'll get it figured out.
Ranked slightly higher than the other commissioners. That's good.
Guys.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Gerard, Coach.
All right.
David.
All right, guys.
All right,
hey, update